Alright, let's make a render. Or in this case, show you how to make a render. First step, open Blender. Make sure you have it installed, of course. And let's append a model. We're going to append Kawaii Roxy. And I like to make collections because it makes things a little easier to organize and manage. We're going to go to Objects, and we're going to click on one, and then we're going to press A to select everything. Boom. Now we have a Roxy. But if you go into shader mode, or even rendered mode works too, which are these two. Rendered mode is this one, shader is this one. Give it a minute. It's going. Give a second. Give a second. You will see this a lot with the models, just because her eyes are glass, and you need to enable refractions to get through this. So just go here, 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 and give a second. There you go. Now we got her. So this is one model. I always like to, if I'm gonna have multiple, I like to move them to the side a bit. These do come with their own, like, lights, but we're not gonna use them, so just delete them. Don't delete these, because they are needed for her hair. And we're gonna add a new one. Let's, I guess we'll just add Kawaii Gregory, I guess. I like the Gregory model. I wish that was what we got in Security Breach, kind of. Gregory, Gregory uses the Rigify add-on, and it is a lot different. Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah. It's gonna take a while. Dang. He's tiny. um... Let's scale him up a bit. He does not need to be that tiny. It's gonna take a while for his textures to load in. Just give it time. Let's see, there's the shirt. Up there's the skin. Alright. So, Gregory's rig is a lot more advanced. Half of this, I don't even know what it does. The scale thing, I think, yeah, it changes his eye size and stuff. You can do the same thing with Roxanne. Just like... go to her rig. Do this. Well, of course, don't select both at the same time, I don't think. I think if you use a mirror, you can do it. Yeah, Control Z to undo things. You can also, like, if you make a movement on a bone that you don't particularly like, for example, like, oh no, I moved her arm into her side. I don't like that. Just press in and say your undos aren't working very well. Just press in, go to this, and just undo the transform with backspace. And it will reset the bone directly to its original place. I'm gonna find Gregory's lights. Oh, he has so much. No wonder renders with these models take forever. Okay. That one is a light, and they get gun. What are you? Okay, you're an area light. We don't need you. Okay. I'm not sure what half of this is. I think this is just stuff that got kind of like pulled into it. Moving Gregory's bones are kind of weird. Oh, that's so weird. That's his lips. This is how you move his chin. Yeah, and rotating causes him to open his mouth. If you want to rotate it on a specific axis, press the axis that you want to rotate it on. For example, x-axis. And that should fix it, actually. Yeah, that's how you open his mouth. Yeah, Gregory's rig is a bit more advanced because it uses the Rigify add-on, which is what all this stuff comes from. So yeah. Gregory's rig is a bit more advanced than Roxy's. And just kind of move around your model as you pose it to, like, get the right position. You kind of just have to figure out what each bone does, because it's hard to tell what each of them does. Well, except for the hair bones, they obviously move the hair, obviously. Yeah. Hair. 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 Her tail bones, of course. It's pretty much the same thing. If you have a specific map you want to use, I suggest making a new collection for the map. Like Greenroom or something. But I'm not gonna open up a map. But yeah. if you are going to import a map, you want to make sure you're on the collection. You want to go here, append, desktop, and find the specific map you want to use. I do have a green room. There's an atrium, drive-in, Glamour Freddy's room, green room. And you just do the same thing you would normally do to append an actual model. Select all, and now they port in really small, so you either have to scale these guys up, this up, or you have to like scale these guys down. It's easier to scale them down than up. For me, like all you have to do is find the right size that looks correct. Oh, um, I'm gonna select the objects in that hierarchy and delete them because we're not gonna use that. We're just gonna do a simple render right now. I am not gonna like spend hours posing these guys because posing, it takes a lot of work. For your first poses, I say start out simple. Do something like a cute little nod or something. I'm just gonna make a simple little pose. Just Roxy's hand on her hip or something. Rotate, do whatever you need to make the pose correct. Just mess with the pose until you get it the way you want. Basically, like, don't... For your first poses, just spend a little bit of time on them, but, like, don't go crazy just yet. Because there's still a lot to do. Like, even if you've already done your pose, you might want to add a map, or you might want to, like, start making, like, adjustments to it again. And if your fingers aren't bending correctly, switch the axis of transformation from global to local. Or change the tool you're using. If you switch it to local or global, these axes will change and you'll be able to bend them just a little bit better. It helps a lot, actually, to have these like tools up and running. This is not an add-on, this is just something that comes with Blender. It is just something that comes with Blender. And that you get. You might notice as Roxy turns or something, her eyes start turning weirdly. You have to adjust this bone and stuff. I'm not gonna spend forever posing these guys. I am gonna say that some of the models don't have a good, like, mirror. So if at times when you're trying the mirror with the model it doesn't work, it's probably not gonna work well. Roxy's mirror works perfectly fine. I'm not sure about Gregory. I haven't tried his out yet. But yeah. after you've, like, posed your model and stuff, and you've made your beautiful pose or the start to a render that you want to do, stuff like that. Like, after you've made the pose that you wanted, or something. I'm not gonna spend a long time posing these. I'm just trying to help you get, like, the general gist of it. Just, like, do something simple to start out. Get used to moving these bones, because some of them can be a bit wonky, especially at first, to, like, learn to move. Especially with, like, these little fingers. Just get them kind of relaxed. Just doing a little something. Little small. Or as... yeah, just like a little small... little, anything you don't want in the way, I suggest just, like, first moving it off to the side. Just gonna move that keytar out of the way. But if you don't want to mirror something, make sure to turn that off. I'm just gonna do a little Roxy head pat and Gregory type thing. Just something cute. It takes a while to get, like, these poses you want specifically. Like, if you want it specifically made in a certain way, you're gonna have to, like, spend a lot of time. Like, getting these poses correct. And stuff, like making things correct. This is probably not the right accurate height. I'm realizing, probably, this is not how tall Roxy is supposed to be. Oh, no, stop. Don't. Just goes to show you practice makes perfect, especially using these specific, like, tools. Now let's just get this bone to look slightly. Come here. Okay, there we go. Just a cute little render. Something cute. Just a little something adorable. You might notice this just kind of like mess with things to get like her to a specific point. Of course. Once you have like your pose and stuff done, let's just make Gregory a little less well, first let's make her a little less surprised. I think if you do this with the mirror, it works too. No, you have to select both bones in order to make that work. Maybe you want to change the pose, like, you're not ready to render till you have the pose you want. Specifically, like, if you don't want to render a pose that you have already, or you don't have, like, a pose that you would like to render, then just mess with the model and pose it around until, like, you have what you're wanting. Now these use, like, eye keys, so moving the palm of the hand causes this to move. Moving the base of the foot causes, like, the heel of the foot causes that to move. Like, most of these are pretty easy to move around. If you have a model with forward kinematics, you're going to have to do a lot more work. So the two types of kinematics are forward, FK, and inverse, IK. Inverse kinematics are a lot easier to work with, although they do have their little disadvantages. Mainly, like, this is kind of becoming adorable. I'm not meaning to make it adorable, but you know what? If it works, it works. Shift click to select multiple things. If you're moving slow in rendered or, like, any other view, and you want it to move just a little faster, switch it back to solid view, so it's not, like, struggling so much. This is becoming very oddly adorable. Make sure you examine your pose from, like, all directions. Otherwise, you might miss, like, key elements, like things glitching through things. Like, if it's not going to be visible to the camera, you don't have to, like, mess with it. But, like, if you want it to look correct, you need to mess with things to make it work. This is becoming kind of oddly adorable, and I'm kind of liking it. Maybe I might redo this photo in like a speed render kind of thing. Some of these I'm not able to get a hold of. Okay, that'll do for now. This is just a simple tutorial to teach you a few things. It's basically all about moving your characters around, getting the right positions, finding what you want specifically. And if you have references, that's even better. Like, have someone pose for you or something. Having references is what will help you out a lot. Or even just having, like, a general idea of what you're wanting to go for. Now, once you've got it, I suggest if you don't already have a camera in the scene, make a new collection. And put the camera in it, so that you don't have to struggle for hours on end trying to find it. Now, once you've... Not sure where that camera spawned at. Oh, I accidentally clicked text. Bed. We want camera. For some reason, it's spawning at Roxy. Oh, because the origin is in her, apparently. But yeah, don't worry. Just go here, reset the camera to default position, bring it out, reset the camera's rotation. And I suggest doing this in animation mode because it helps out, because then you can see what it looks like without the bones out in the way. Just make this slightly bigger. Anything you don't need to get into, just go ahead and close the collection. And just make sure this camera or this object you have here sets active. That square will be... The triangle will be colored in if it's your active camera. And it's basically all just about, like, finding the perfect position for the character. And then once you have, like, that perfect position, you want to see what it looks like in render mode, just go over here to this side, make sure you're on this side, so that when you push it, you're viewing this. And you can see there's no bones in the way. And now let's go to... Now, we're going to be doing this in cycles, but... yeah. Switch it to cycles. Denoise. And we're gonna switch this into cycles mode. Now, there's no lights in the scene right now, so you can't see them very well. I've seen Cyberwolf do this a lot. He just, like, makes lights using objects, and so, say you wanna, like, in Cycles, you can do this, actually. It's pretty cool. But you can basically make your own lights, rather than using the pre-built lights. Let's see, I think it's emission. Yeah, see? That's one of the cool things about Cycles. It is slow, I will tell you that. Like, Cycles is very slow. And it is meant to be slow, specifically. Now, if you don't want to do that, and you just want to use, like, lights from a scene, or the character's lights that are already in there, then do it. But, like, lighting is a separate video I will have to cover. But it is interesting, the effects you can create with some simple little lighting scenarios. This isn't the best lighting I can do. I usually use, like, lighting from a map. But I only have the Atrium by Acid right now, and it's a little hefty on the computer. I'll link you to the models in description. And also I'll link you to the to some maps, the Greenrooms by Draven. And also link you to, like, a few other things I found, maybe. If you do want to change, like, the color of the emission, just kind of, like, change what it looks like. Adding a bit, like, of color to it kind of helps. Like, just mess with the lights until you get something you want. For right now, I'm not best with lighting, and I certainly ain't the best with tutorials, but I'll try. Adding a little bit of blue actually kind of softened up the features a bit. So after you're ready to render, you just want to go to your camera. And if you want to render 2K, specifically, like, if you want to make a, I guess, desktop screen or something, this is the render size for 2K. Keep everything the same. Go down to render samples, though. And for right now, I'm going to change it to 100, 280. But 100, 200... No, I'm sorry. 128. But Also, 500 works. Just remember, the more samples you have, the longer it will take to render. Specifically. Oh, and if you want to render with a transparent background to use this as like a cardboard cutout or something for a map you're making, you're going to have to go here. And like, it's somewhere in here. I don't know specifically where it is, but it's somewhere in here where you can change, like, if it's transparent or not. Oh, and also if you want the picture to be flat on, there you go. But we're gonna keep it in perspective right now. And we have a little bit of time. Okay, this is not a 6-hour video like the last one I did. So we have a little bit of time to quickly do a test render to show you what will happen. So keep everything here the same. Do not change it. Do not change anything. Render, however, change the sampling. Keep the sampling whatever it is, but change the sampling here. Like, change the sampling here to either 128 or 500, or you can even go to 1000 range. Just remember that it's going to take longer. And when you hit render image, it's going to do its thing, and it's going to render the image for you. Now, it's noisy right now, but over time, this thing will tick up. This sample thing here. I pointed at it like you could see what I was doing, but... that's going to tick up, and it's going to hit the max samples, and the noise is going to clear out, so don't worry. And cycles, since you're doing it in cycles, you can do a lot of things with this. Just remember, because her eyes are glass, if you're using a mirror, like an actual mirror in a map, and you want her to be looking into it like she's like leaning over her table, like admiring herself or something, you're gonna have to do a little bit of finagling unless you want to use cycles for that specifically. And the only reason why her eyes can be seen in the mirror in cycles is because her eyes are actually glass. They are glass. The irises are inside of her eyeballs. They are not outside like regular textures. They are inside, which I think is pretty cool. So once this like hits the max renders, like why this is rendering, I will show you what I mean. Oh, this is a few renders I did off screen. If you have a few renders I did, this is when I was testing out cycles. It's gonna take a minute. She's got glowing objects on, so she didn't need no light. I was just trying to see what I could do. This is my desktop. That's another cycles render I did. Basically, if you're using a map with a mirror, like an actual mirror, like you're having Roxy look into it, You're going to need to use cycles, otherwise her eyes will be gray in the mirror. Like the iris part will be completely gray and it's odd. It's like a demon version of Roxy looking at her. It's weird. Um but if you go into cycles, it's perfectly fine. You can see her irises just fine for some reason. Not sure why, but it works. So if you're gonna have her doing like her Roxy being Roxy thing, you just just use cycles. It's better than Eevee, in my opinion, and I've been using cycles for a little bit. I guess I'll quickly show a preview of this that I'm working on. Oh, that's finished rendering. Give me a second. Give it a second. Still trying to figure out how I want to texture this guy. Ignore it. I still have a lot to do on it. A lot to do, a lot to texture, a lot to figure out what to do. Oh, no, please don't crash. Please don't crash on me. Yeah, I got a lot to texture, a lot to do. These spikes are a pain in the bahootie to do. But he's looking pretty fit. I can't wait to finish him. He's gonna be a pretty cool glam rock. I might have to fix the shoulder area here. Fix a few things. But so far, he's mostly quads except for the feet. Which, these are quads too, it's just they look similar to a triangle right now. But this was what I could do. He's not red. More like a brownish, orange, reddish fox. Green eyes. They look slightly off. I may have to go in and remap them. Sadness. Yep, and as you can see, right there. Rendered. Now you can use this wherever you want. Your desktop, a post to make, like whatever you desire. That was from the objects that got rendered by accident. Make sure when you render and you pose your characters and you light it with objects that you just you keep them out of frame. Unlike me, who accidentally did it the wrong way. Try and keep them like out of frame. Just try and keep them out of frame if you're going to be using planes and stuff to light the scene. But don't worry, if you render it once and it's not the way you want it, you can change it and re-render it again. If you're going to be adding custom stuff, I suggest like making a collection for certain objects that might require more than one object to build it. I'm trying to find whatever was done in a video I watched to like. Oh, here it is. Render region. Yeah. It will basically cut everything off so that you only see what you're rendering. So if you don't like it, just hit render image. It will re-render the image with the changes you've made. Quick tip. If you're working on a hefty image, be careful. Save often, otherwise you might end up losing all of your progress. So if you're working on an image with a hefty map or something like, I don't know, the stage map from Golden Spoon, probably, then save your progress often, work really hard on it, and make sure you saved often. If it does crash, don't worry, Blender has a failsafe involved in it, and you can recover the last file when you boot up another Blender. Don't worry. So if you haven't saved, or you've saved and it crashed, go back to it, and you can recover your file just easily. It hasn't crashed on me today, so I can't show you that, and I don't know of a way to make it crash, so we're just gonna wait for this to render again. This is actually going the way I expected it to. You don't have to use planes to light your scene. You can use, like, lights, like actual lights. You just have to finagle with it until it looks good to you. My suggestion is examine the scenes in Security Breach or any other game you're trying to mimic with lighting. And sometimes you can slightly see it, but the reflective nose will tell you the position of the lights and where you need to put them. And you'll just try to match it up. If you want to be a little creative, change things up, go for it. This is your render. You do you. It is slow. Cycles is a very slow engine. It's not fast, and it's not gonna be fast. So if you're gonna do an animation in it, I suggest, like, making sure you start early, and then when you're finished making the animation, hold on rendering and do the rendering early in the morning, because Cycles will take however many samples you give it and render each scene or each animation frame with that specific amount of samples. Now, I'm not going to do animation in this tutorial. I still have to learn myself how to animate, but I'm going to work on that very soon. And the noise will clear in just a second. Once it finishes, it clears the noise for you and completely de-noises the image. Yeah, see? Now, the ones that you see here, I rendered with 1,200 samples. So 1200, and this is what they gave me. And you can see the imperfections on some of the model. This is you can see it right there. In there. Right there. But yeah. And that is how you do a very easy render. Like, your render is up to you, but I just did a very quick and easy render to get this tutorial done with, I will do a more advanced, like, speed render sometime soon to show you how to put, like, a scene together. Possibly. For right now, though, just if you're using a map, you're gonna just have to do a little finagling to get things to work. If you're not seeing your scene lights, go up here and make sure whatever you need is toggled on to render specifically. And I really hope this helps. Happy renders!